My name is Peter, recovered alcoholic.
Hello, Peter.
Grateful to be alive and sober and part of the sacred place called Alcoholics Anonymous. Again, thank the group for having me and for Sheldon for doing all the Zoom work here. And welcome anyone who's out there on Zoom. I can't see you, but welcome. June 23rd, 1988 is when the loving God separated me from alcohol. I'm very grateful for, this gift of sobriety, and grateful to be here. Thank you, Jim, for asking me. Been able to get here like every 2 years or so, every year to do this and walk through the 12 steps again. And what I really appreciate on a personal note is that hopefully when I do these things, what you heard 5 years ago, you won't hear again, other than my story. That God has provided new wrinkles, and well, He has a lot of wrinkles, but new stories to tell, new experiences to share about, because of the growing and understanding and effectiveness our book talks about, and cultivating this and enhancing it, and getting around different people and studying and working with different spiritual literature along with, not instead of our big book. So I know I've had a whole bunch of things happen to me over the last year, some incredibly challenging and some incredibly rewarding. And I think I shared this a few weeks ago, that we get sponsors and they become our teacher, our spiritual guide, and they really have a huge influence on it. It's a huge responsibility to be a sponsor. But sometimes, and oftentimes, our best teachers are doing life. Family members, friends, co-workers will present stuff to us, and we'll get to know where we are on the spiritual plane. When adversity hits, when good times hit, when friends drop bad news in our lap, and things like that. Jobs come and go, money comes and go. How we navigate through that is really a good spotlight on where we or I am on the journey. And it's so easy for many of us to be an AA angel and a house devil. Sound really profound for an hour, be very polite. Would you like to sit? I'll get you coffee, welcome. And once the gavel hits the table and the meeting's over and we get in the car and hit 95, we turn into Rambo. We were Moses for an hour ago, we turn into Rambo. So I pray that what you see is what you get. It's fairly consistent. How I am in my home is how I am around you. Obviously, home's a little bit more intimate, but I really pray for that. And part of what I do in the morning is ask God from the bottom of my heart to carry the vision of His will into all my activities, which means I can get out of the way. I'm boots on the ground for God, and although I may not like what I'm looking at, I may not like what's coming at me, He's assigned me that job, and I need to do it cheerfully. And so on most days, I would love to report to you every day. That'd be a lie, but on most days, the cross He places on my back, I carry cheerfully, because I know who gave it to me. He's not asking me for 2 crosses. So this journey in recovery is, for me, way beyond attending meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous, as important as they are, as much as I love being around it and enjoying it, and the road trips and all things I get to do, and the handshakes, and quite frankly, the music before the meeting, all of us chattering, and the music after the meeting, all of us chattering. I love all of that. But for me, where I've been for a number of years, is recovery is way beyond that. It's even beyond the big book in doing service. Quite frankly, those are vehicles for a guy like me to allow me to have a relationship with God. That this book is not the treasure, it's the treasure map, and it'll take me to a place called God. And at that point, I experience oneness with God. And once I get there, it doesn't mean I'm going to have free room and board. See, when I hit a bottom, I move in. But when we enter the world of the Spirit, I may not move in. I might like some of the blessings I'm getting, but I'm failing to seek God. And what I need to do is seek God, and the blessings will follow. Amen. So it's really important for me to be disciplined. to the spiritual way of living, because life's going to come at us. And how I'm dealing with life is I don't do it on life's terms. I know we hear a lot of that in AA. If that floats your boat, God bless you. For me, it doesn't work. Life on life's terms, I need a double vodka to get out of bed, and I need more of everything. But when I'm living life on on God's terms, the book says God doesn't make too hard times for those who seek Him. God's going to do a lot of pruning, but He's not going to ask me to jump through hoops or stand on my head. When I'm living life on life's terms, I'm jumping through hoops to stand on my head, because it's an effort to control life, believing I can control it. It's an effort to get what I want, when I want it, how often I want it, and I don't want consequences either. What work? Living life on God's terms, I know what my limitations are. Guys at work, they laugh at me because I all tell them I can't add. I need 15 people to help me count to 10. So when I'm doing, when we're looking at payroll and spreadsheets, and I go to lunch. Because if you want me to run your company, don't let me do the books. You'll be out of business in 5 minutes. I have no idea. My wife handles it at home. I can't. I go ADD when I'm looking at numbers. But ask me to do some other things, like build and create and have vision, or sit down with the drunk. God gave me some gifts to do that. I know my limitations, a tremendous amount of liberation with the realization of how broken and flawed I am, and what I can do well and what I don't do so well, and get to a place where I can tell someone I don't do this well, I need your help. Tremendous freedom. I don't have to pretend I can be transparent. It's really not that important. What's really important is what I'm doing with God in all my affairs, and I fail. I fall short. It's part of the human condition. I have clay feet. But I get back in the saddle and keep riding. It's not how many times you get knocked to the mat, it's how many times you get up. So I keep getting up. And the only one's knocking me to the mat is me and the thing called self-will. And what's in this box of self-will is the 7 deadly sins, my defects of character, quite frankly, me. And so it's about I have to get as far away from me as possible. What the mind wants to do very often is find shortcuts, an easier, softer way. Being an Alcoholics Anonymous, going through the 12 steps with the sponsor is an easier, softer way. Because if I weigh that against what I did out there to keep the drunk going, or white knuckle sobriety, that's the harder way. Because I will encounter God and He will do for me what I can't do for myself. But the mind is always chirping. I don't need to go to any lengths. I don't need to really do the steps yet. Things are going good. I feel comfortable. I make a lot of meetings. I'm a meeting maker. Well, if that floats your boat, God bless you. That's a bad remedy for me. Because the meeting ends tonight at 9:30 and I'm back out there again. I got a whole bunch of hours till tomorrow morning. And I need some soul food. I need some spiritual muscles. I need some strength to navigate through that. I often heard people say, I woke up untreated today. If that works for you, great. I can't swallow that. Why would God put me in that position? I need to have conscious contact with God to navigate through the day. So every morning I'm on my knees praying. But because I have some soul food and I have some muscles, I go from my bed to the meditation mat. If I was untreated, I don't know if I do that. There might be a day where I wake up untreated and walk right out the door and don't come back. But it's God's grace that keeps me buoyant. My mind always wants to look for an easier, softer way. My mind doesn't want to do the inventory. My mind wants to know part of AA or God or steps or a sponsor. Because when it encounters that stuff, it knows it's not needed. And my mind, I don't know about your mind, it likes activity. It likes drama. It likes controversy. It loves gossip. It loves fear. It loves defects of character because it's working. It's employed. And when God shows up, it's out of work. It doesn't want to do that. It wants to convince me to do it its way. I've been doing my way for a lot of years before I got into Alcoholics Anonymous, and I've been guilty of doing it my way in Alcoholics Anonymous. When that happens, I'm writing a lot of inventory and maybe making amends. It doesn't work. There's a great story, Easier, Softer Way, that I heard. My priest told me this story. And it was about this gentleman who was a very, very religious guy. And for years, he was a devout Christian. Bless you. And He starts to feel ill and goes to a whole bunch of doctors, and eventually the doctor tells him, make arrangements. You have about 6 months. There's nothing we can do. You're going to pass. He's irate. How could God do this to me? I've been a good church man. I've been a good servant. How could God do this to me? And he walks away from the church, and he's really, really angry. And one night he has a dream. And in this dream, he's walking on this field about the size of a football field. And he's carrying this huge cross. And he looks around and he sees and hears hundreds and hundreds of other people carrying the similar cross. Only thing, they're singing Christian hymns and they're smiling and they're laughing. And he says, what nonsense. I'm not doing this. I got to find a way out. And he comes across, he sees a barn on the side of the road. He goes in there and trims down this cross where it looks like a knapsack on his back. He says, I did it. No one's going to get me. Keeps walking, and they get to the cliff. They get to the edge of the mountain. There's a cliff. And all these people lay down their cross to cross to the other side. And he's stuck with him in his misery for eternity. I do not take the easiest off the way. That's me running my life, and I know what happens. For me, I get drunk. I'm an alcoholic. I drink alcohol. If the sun comes up or the sun comes down, a pocket full of money or no money, I drink alcohol. And left untreated, I don't care how long I'm sober, I will go back to that which is killing me. What's really frightening, it might take some detours, like a sex spree or a food spree or a gambling spree or a money spree or a spree. And I become really restless and discontented. I become consumed with me again. I'm totally self-centered, not God-centered. I'm self-absorbed, not God-absorbed. It's about me all the time in my comfort level, and all I want to do is talk about me at a meeting. When I'm talking to you, I want to talk about me. That's all I'm consumed with. I wake up and think about me. I go to sleep thinking about me. And when I'm doing that, I start to isolate. And in isolation, I experience some bondage. With enough bondage, I pick up a drink. And as long as I'm consumed with me and not focused on God, I'm walking away in a sense, and I can't even hear God. I forfeit every invitation that God sends me. I know when I'm angry, I'm not paying attention to anything other than my anger, and I get even angrier. If I'm in a place of self-pity, I want the whole world to go, "Aw, poor Pete." But they're busy with other stuff, so I fall deeper into self-pity. And the very same mind that tells me it's going to fill the hole is the very same mind that keeps digging the hole. And I fall for it every time. There's an author, I may have shared this with you, an author, his name is Eckhart Tolle. He says in some of his writings, you don't even need a mind, so get rid of it. Which flies in the face of everything I've been taught. It's very radical thinking. I don't need a mind. You know when they say bring the body and the mind will follow? Why? It's dangerous. You don't want my mind showing up for Thanksgiving. And I don't want yours either. It'll be a pity party and we'll wind up smoking crack in a couple of hours. All the dough fiends just woke up in this meeting. Oh, just let me, please don't take this the wrong way. When we read how it works, that chanting stuff, that's in another fellowship. We don't do that in AA, just so you know. And we don't mock how it works. What's the point? We know what the point is. Don't do that. It's disrespectful. So you may not know, so I'm just trying to lovingly teach you. Leave that stuff in another fellowship. We don't do that here. So I begin going through the 12 steps. And as I've shared, I didn't know how deep the roots go on step one. Exactly. I thought step one had to do with drinking. Now I don't drink. Step one's locked in. I got to check that box. It's way beyond that, because when I'm not drinking, I'm using a worse shape than when I'm drinking. When I'm drinking, I'm really, really predictable. I'm easy to follow around. You can spot me from space. I'm easy. You know my routine. It's when I'm not drinking, untreated, going to meetings, it gets really ugly. I don't know what I'm going to do. I lie better, I cheat better, I steal better, I manipulate better, and I'm a raw nerve. Everything's a drama, everything's a catastrophe, and I gotta let you in, and I gossip about everybody. That's untreated. I don't want to work, but I want to have a lot of money. I want to find the love of my life, but I like a little something on the side too. That's untreated. I'm no fidelity to God. How could I have fidelity with another person? I have no practice. I have no routine. I know routine sounds very mundane, but we need a routine. In discipline, there's freedom. I don't have any of that. I'm untreated. I'm just not drinking, but I'm suffering from alcoholism. I get into Alcoholics Anonymous and I get a sponsor, begin going through the steps. I don't know where it's taking me. I hear your experiences of these wonderful awakenings and this relationship with God, but I don't know where I'm going, where the steps are going to take me. My name is Peter. Nothing ever works. Why would the steps work for me? But desperation kept me putting one foot in front of the other and chopping wood and carrying water. I don't know what the destination is going to look like. I thought there was a destination. I don't know. But something happened. As I'm going through this work, little by slowly, I'm starting to feel the weight off my back. My shoulders aren't up by my earlobes. I'm starting to relax. I'm starting to really enjoy a meeting and get into the discussion. And I'm starting to laugh a little bit. And a very wise man once told me there's two things that will drive us out: uniqueness and not having fun in recovery. It'll get boring quick. And I'll walk out the door, seek relief with the drink again. But I began a routine. And if someone told me you got to get a routine, I said, that sounds boring, a routine. But I have a routine because in the routine it means discipline. And discipline, there's freedom. It all comes from God. Big Book says we alcoholics are undisciplined. I don't have it. I like to think I have discipline. I lie to myself that I have discipline. But God got me discipline quickly. And you know what happens when I began to get some discipline in my life many years ago? I lost a lot of what I thought were friends in AA. Because they wanted to do what they wanted to do whenever they wanted to do it, and I was going home to write a fourth step. Or I was going home to write nightly inventory. And they were going out. And they wanted to beat up my sponsor. Who's your sponsor? What kind of nonsense is this? That's what I did. I could not do that. And the routine is up early. God wakes me up at about 5 a.m. every morning. Sometimes this morning was 4:30. Sometimes it's earlier than that. Sometimes I sleep in. For me, sleeping in is 5:30. It's just, maybe I'm just getting old. I don't know. But 5 a.m., that's the routine. And then I go into my meditation room and I do prayer and meditation. And then I do some reading. I put on a pot of coffee. And while I'm having coffee, there's some things I like to do. I like to read about sports. And I check in with the news to see how insane the world is. That's always comical, you know. There's a page I have that I put up all the Zoom meetings. I go back to doing some more reading. Then I try to clean up the house when Marion wakes up. It's not a mess. So I keep the house clean. Even do some laundry and make coffee and bring a cup of coffee for Marion at 7:30. That's my morning routine, and hopefully I get a workout in somewhere in there. And then I get prepared to go to work. And I'll have a routine tonight. My routine during the day, and I'll fail at this from time to time, is trying to do God's will instead of my will. It's a routine. So far, God's kept me above ground, sucking air, and sober because there's a lot of freedom in a routine or discipline. If I'm faithful to my practice, the practice will be faithful to me. If I practice fidelity to God, I will experience God's fidelity to me. But if I'm bouncing off walls, I'm not going to get anything. So I'm very grateful for all of this. What gets in the way of this when I'm sober is the thinking mind and all the manifestations of self. And now we get into finishing the fifth step, and I'm in pretty good shape, better than when I got here, but I still got a whole lot of stuff that has to be done. It's constant removal, I found for myself. If we look at the steps closely, it's about removal, never addition. And some of the humility that hopefully is dropped in our lap is, if this doesn't work, I'm in trouble because I'm convinced on my own I can't do this. On my own, I'm drunk. But hopefully with God's help, I'll stay sober and have a relationship with God. This got to work. I have nowhere else to go. There's a force feeding of humility to keep me grounded, yeah? My alcoholism doesn't come in a bottle of whiskey. I got 6 months sober and I'm Looney Tunes. I finally get a sponsor, and it pushes me further into a corner, and I feel even more helpless and lost. That's all good. because there's one rung to grab onto. It's the God rung. And if he doesn't hold back, I'm in a lot of trouble. I'm convinced that just making 90 meetings in 90 days, I'm probably not going to make it. I'm convinced just making a lot of coffee and a lot of meetings, I'm not going to make it. But I need to have what Joe or Mary has, and that's a personal relationship with God. Whatever that looks like, whatever God you choose. And so when we look at step 6, we come out of 5, we got some really cool promises in step 5. And then we have some instructions what to do at the end of step 5. And the first thing I'm supposed to do is be quiet for an hour. I thank God from the bottom of my heart that I know him better. And I look at the first 5 proposals. I'm reviewing. Am I still clear I'm alcoholic? Am I still in a place of believing God's going to restore me to sound? Am I willing to understand my life is none of my business? I'm going to play by God's rules, not mine. Am I holding on to something? Have I been thorough in the 4th step? Have I been clean in the 5th step? Have I take it to the grave stuff? Got something in the glove compartment on a sheet of paper that I'm going to go to the grave with? Have I been thorough? I'll share what happened to me a number of years ago. I had a sponsor out of Texas, and it was about the 3rd time I was going through the steps. I always love to share this story because what can happen during that hour quiet time. Usually it's reflection, quiet. I'm not going on Facebook and just in the 5th step and doing a selfie. We don't do that. It's about communing with God so I can communicate with others. And I don't know what's going to come to the surface in that hour. And my sponsor, Mark, rest his soul, used to always talk about daily dying for successful living, the death of self before the physical death. How important that was to happen to a guy like me. But I couldn't make it happen. And I'm in this hour quiet time. I thank God from the bottom of my heart that I know him better, and I go into like a meditation, some reflection. I'm just being still. And I realized at this point something started to well up in me that I didn't want to be the guy in the 4th step. In fact, I despise the guy I just read about on that 4th step. I don't want to be like that anymore in the worst way. How far away can I get from me right now? There was a sense of urgency. It was coupled with me starting to question everything, starting to question God, my sponsor, this book, and I was getting really uncomfortable, telling myself, what is this all about? I don't know where this was coming from. I have to say it was God. What is this all about? Where am I going? Am I really sincere, or am I running a con game again? Where am I with this? And I start to get physically uncomfortable. I felt like I was getting the flu, and I didn't like the feeling behind it. So I break the hour. I was in there maybe 30 minutes or so, and I go to the phone, and I called up my sponsor. Hey, Mark, here's what's going on during the quiet time. And I told him everything, pretty much what I just told you. And his reply was, and I quote, "It sounds to me like you're having an experience." And then he hung up the phone. And I was left. And I was annoyed that he would do that. Why would you leave me hanging? I went back to the hour quiet time. Well, he called me later. He used to call me Money. He says, Money, how many times have we talked about daily dying for successful living? The death of self before the physical death. How many times have we talked about that? He said, I could not interrupt that. And he referred to Bill with the white light and Silky walking in. Silky to say, okay, let's talk this out. Let's process this. Let's get you on some meds right away. He left him alone. What Mark did with me, I'm not comparing me to Bill at all, but what Mark did with me, he knew something was happening, not to talk it away, not to interpret, just leave me alone for the hour, then pick up the phone and call me and walk through that. I was changed without my hands on the wheel. I was changed by a spirit of willingness to walk through a little bit of darkness. It wasn't that dark looking back on it, but God had me question a lot of things and realize I do not want to be the guy that just showed up on that 4th step and was talked about in step 5. And I come out and I look at step 6. Again, it's preparing me to have more stuff removed. And instead, I wrote it down. I marked it here in the book because I don't want to screw this up. It says if we can answer to our satisfaction. They're talking about the questions on the bottom of page 75. Basically what Bill is telling us on the bottom of page 75, have I left anything out? In a lot of different ways. And so if I'm clear, hey, I've been thorough with my sponsor, I've been thorough on paper, that'll come to me in the hour quiet time. I look at this and it says, if we can answer to our satisfaction, I read past that for years. It doesn't say to the sponsor's approval or to home group's approval, to my satisfaction. They're assuming that by the time I get done with 5 and finish our hour quiet time, I'm on a different plane. I become God conscious. There's been a shift, a little one, but there's been a shift. Truth is starting to operate. There's a life and death errand. They're not just going to hang me out, but they understood that at this point, it becomes God reliance rather than sponsor reliance. It says we look at step 6. We emphasize willingness as being indispensable. I can't do it without. It's absolutely required. Am I still willing to go? Am I still willing to have God go in with a pick and shovel and gut some more of me out? And it's going to hurt. Oftentimes we talk about the beauty of a spiritual transformation, or we see someone kind of going through life really light and they credit the big book and God and the 12 steps, but we don't understand how much work went into that and the uncomfortability of coming face to face with my own ego. Michael Jordan, perhaps the greatest basketball player ever, was the first in the gym and the last to leave. Hours and hours and hours and hours of jump shots. There was a guy, he played, Chris Mullen. He's an old Brooklyn boy, played at St. John's. And he would talk about how he would take 1,000 jump shots before practice and 1,000 jump shots after practice. If anyone's ever played basketball, that's a lot of work. But he was deadly on the court and he made it look so easy. So when we're doing this work, we can look at Joe or Mary and say, my God, they're just kind of moving through life. They were at home praying and meditating, writing inventory, talking to a sponsor and praying and uncovering, discovering things in themselves they don't want to look at. It was not on their terms. Am I now ready to let God remove from me all the things I admitted are objectionable? You know those icky things, so we hear ourselves saying in 5, but I want those to go. I don't want to do that anymore. Now, if I'm not willing and I'm still holding on, what I'm supposed to do is go back to God, full willingness and the ability to let go. And everything goes through God. Can he now take them all, every one? Again, I read past this for a long time. Can he now take them all, this God, every one? Everything that's blocking me from God. I've heard some folks say, and I'm not here to critique it, you need to get a bigger God. No, you need a smaller you. God's big enough. God's wise enough. Imagine going to God and say, God, can we have a meeting? And you sit down at the table, look, you need to get bigger. I have a lot of problems and you need to get, it's bizarre, some of the things we say in AA. We don't need a big, God's big enough. I need to get right-sized. Can he take them all? Can he now, right now, take them all, every one? Read past that for a long time. And one day I looked at it different. And for new folks, you'll read the book this year. And next year, you'll see stuff in there you never saw before. It's not a new entry. It's just you wake up. And you'll see things from a different angle as well. Can he now take them all, every one? Is he big enough to do it? Absolutely. Do I want him to do it? Absolutely. So why the question? Let's pretend I was going to set up this meeting tonight and Sheldon and Jimmy are by the door. And I'm walking in with a new coffee pot in a box under this arm and a box of big books under this arm. And I got the keys for the door dangling from my teeth. And I start walking and everything falls. And these two gentlemen say, let us help you. And I say, I got it. I'm super AA guy. I got it. And I pick everything up. I walk a few more feet, and this falls again. And this goes on like 3-4 times. Now I tore my pants. My knees are bloody. And both of them say, can we now take this from you? Are you done running your life? Are you done being a hero? This statement, this question is saying, Pete, can he now take them all, every one? Are you done running your life right into a brick wall? That's an easy answer. It takes me right back to step one, absolutely. For me, my experience has shown, if I'm struggling with 6, I don't have a step 5 problem, I got a step 1 problem. If I'm struggling with 7, 8, or 9, I don't have a previous step problem. I got a 1 problem. Because when I got here, broken, coming in here saying, I'll do anything, I can't take this pain, what happened to the desperation? Stuff got in the way. She or he, the money, the job, the car, the reputation, the gym, all of it got in the way, and I'm not willing to do what I used to do. Can he now take them all, every one? What is he taking? Defects or shortcomings, same thing. The things that are blocking me from God. We work with the prayer. My grant sponsor gave this to us. Father, please show me the things that are blocking me that I'm unaware of before they get to me and kill me. Because I might have a list of defects, an idea of what they are, but that doesn't mean I know them all. Because they're sneaky. They change disguises. So it's about going back to this power, surrendering. Take me like the wretch I am. When I was growing up, I was surrounded by alpha males, tough guys, starting with my old man. My uncles, the same thing. All my dad's friends, they all seemed to went to the same high school. The tough high school. They were legitimately tough. They weren't like, puff their chest out and walk away. These were like scary people. And my job was to emulate them. The problem was I watched Bugs Bunny cartoons and cry. And when the hippie scene happened, I want to be a musician. I want long hair, bell bottoms. I'm into peace and love. My dad thought I was a communist. Growing up, I felt incredibly inferior. I was bullied. I was afraid. I didn't run from a fight. I got beat up a lot. And I didn't feel much like a man because I was comparing myself to others. Now I'm in my 20s and I feel really less than. Now I have to front, puff my chest out, act like a little gangster. I'm petrified on the inside. I would not give myself permission to say, this is who I am. And it isn't that bad. I was a little bit more sensitive. I was a little bit more caring. I had a little bit more compassion. I had a little bit more talent. But I looked at that as a weakness rather than an asset. So by the time I get to AA, I'm a loser. And my first few years in AA, I wasn't feeling thrilled about being me yet. I get here and I'm wearing my brother's clothes. That kind of underscored loser. And I get a job and I'm not making, $100K a year. Underscores loser. You're not going anywhere. It's a matter of time, Pete. It took a while, including outside help and a lot of prayer, that God plucks this out. When I was around, I didn't go to college, so when I was around intellectual people, the business I'm in, everyone's got credentials. So I'm sitting in a meeting with all these credentialed people, and I said, I'm out. What can I'm from Brooklyn. I sound it sometimes. They're like from Connecticut. They sound proper. What am I doing here? I had to go to God for stuff like that. You know what defect was driving all that stuff? The one that drives all of them, fear. The evil and corroding thread. Pride. The mother of all of them. Pride is, quite frankly, I'm God. So don't say anything bad about me. Don't challenge me. Don't interrupt me. I'm God. And I let you know that inwardly or outwardly. I walk into a room, you guys pretend you set the room up different, but the table's there and the chairs there. I walk in, how dare they do this without consulting me? I know what you need, 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 and I will gladly tell you, because I'm God. If I'm God, why do I need a third step and turn it over to God? I'm God. And it's so sneaky and so subtle, I'm the last one to know I'm walking around prideful. When we're trying to hang out with prideful people, it's a difficult job. Because after pride, we got this other friend that starts to walk in. He's called narcissism. You can't hang around with people like that. you walk away saying, maybe it's me. Anger. 7 deadly sins I'm going to try to do quick. Anger. By the way, the opposite of pride is humility, which only comes from God. It's forged out an anvil of pain and suffering. I can't live like this anymore. Anger, I always thought the opposite was love. Biblically, it's forgiveness. Anger is a roadblock to peace, to love, to understanding. It insists that I'm right. It insists on vengeance. Any threat to me, I'm coming after you. That's anger. Watch the news. The whole planet's angry. It ain't working out. You ever hang around an angry angry person? It's really, after a while, it's like, calm down. You know what I found out the most angriest people are? They're so ruffle feathers. I've been around long enough to give good testimony. Big bookers. Big bookers fight with big bookers. You didn't extend the third column. Oh my God, you can't come back here anymore. And God forbid you misquote the book and you're a non-big booker around a big booker, there's a war. And I'm saying to myself, but this book's supposed to get you free. You're supposed to be in a place of ease and comfort, not like these people got it wrong. I've seen a lot of that. Greed. I want more of everything and I will take from you. I won't share anything. I will justify stepping over you to get more. And I won't share it when I do get it. Greed. I have 2 loaves of bread, loaf of bread under each arm and a pocket full of money, and I drive right past the homeless people on Broward. I don't give them a penny. It's their fault. Gluttony, we all know about that. Doing something until we get sick and going back and keep doing it. Overeating, over sex, over food, over gambling, over drugging, over drink. All of us got that tag. 2 treatment centers, 5 treatment centers, 20 treatment centers, lockups. I keep going back. And I'll take yours in order for me to do more. Lust breaks hearts, takes me down dark alleys. I start watching things I shouldn't be looking at and visiting places I shouldn't be going to, all in the pursuit of lust. I have no fidelity in a relationship because I excuse it because of lust. It's a driving force. What about lust for power, money, property, and prestige? I need more of all of it, the quest for it. And sloth, I'm lazy. But I always like to take a look at spiritually slothful. I don't have a routine. I don't have a discipline because I'll get to it tomorrow. I'm lazy. I'm tired. And I'll justify and rationalize all of it. What drives all of that is a 4-letter word. It's called fear. It says, all men of faith have courage. Do I have the courage to have faith? It's a little bit of a leap. But the great thing about faith, it puts an end to needing to understand how and why I have faith. Am I going to trust God or not? I'm afraid right now. I don't think I'm ever going to get this opportunity again. I need to take this right now. Am I going to trust God where I am right now and He's going to keep me okay and take me to greater things if I just trust in Him? That requires faith. That requires courage. That requires strength. That requires direction. I only can get that from God. When we would do 6 and 7, a lot of people move into 8, 9, and that's cool. The way we were doing it, we would sit for 3 days with 6 and 7. Just to see if anything surfaces. Am I still ready to have God remove more and have God continue to run my life? Am I still in that place? Some reluctance, some uncertainty, something come to the surface, and we would pray and meditate on this for 3 days. And if we're clear, 8-step list happens. So God willing, we'll talk about step 7 next week. That's all I got.